back. In this video, I'm going to talk about how we are, implementing Industry 4.0. So in the previous video, I talked about the current market approach, which was based on point-to-point connection. Either you do an OT-based mindset implementation where you are like integrating each layer to one other using point-to-point connection, or you go for an IT-based mindset approach where you're moving everything onto cloud, and why it doesn't work, right? So one of the key thing when we talk about Industry 4.0, and I showcase this workflow in the problem statement that we were discussing, like this is a manufacturing workflow, right? You go through, you have different components as part of the Industry 3.0, where you've done tons of automation. So you have some form of software, some form of like automation done at a machine level, right? But the problem is that all of these are like disintegrated system, right? And for you to work as a manufacturer, right, you need visibility across all of these systems, right? So what we have built is basically in Industry 3.0 and the approach that I discussed earlier. So if I go to the current market solutions, right, where you have point-to-point connection and move everything to cloud, right? One of the key things missing in both of these approaches is basically the data strategy, right? And that's why like majority of these approaches basically fail. So the key challenge in or the Industry 4.0 is basically the data, right? And because you have such a discrete system of data, systems, every organization might have a different sort of ERP take on it. They might have a different manufacturing execution system. They have a completely different approach to how they were going to manage inventory and ship, right? This is like very, very specific to the type of the plant that you have set up, right? There is no sort of industry standard. Yes, there are standard around like you need an ERP, MES, but how you're going to execute for your own plant is very, very different and unique for your needs. Okay. So I think what we are building is basically what was needed is basically a single central hub, which unifies the data across all of these diverse systems, right? So that I get away with doing a point-to-point based integration, right? And I wanted a visibility across all of like what's happening within all of these systems, because that's when you're working on a factory or in the manufacturing plant, right? Things are always in motion. So what we have come up with is basically a data platform which we call HiveX UNS, and this is the one-time integration of the digital foundation you need to set, right? Where you connect all of these systems. Behind the scene, think of it as a Google Drive, for your business, right? And it's based on ISA 95 structure. Again, follow the same standard, but just taking a different approach on how it's been done. So we are not doing any point-to-point integration between these systems. What we're trying to now do is basically take all of these systems and integrate it with a single layer, but do it in an ISA 95 format. What do I mean by it? Just think of it as a Google Drive, right? So if by OT system, if I want to capture data, so you have an enterprise, you have a site, then you have an area. And within that area, if I have some line and machine, right, I can then capture all of the data that makes sense from an OT perspective, like the temperature, pressure. If I talk about the plastic industry, right, and I'm doing injection molding, what are happening in my inventory, I will put that into another layer. Then you have ERP, then MES, right? So basically, it's a tree structure in which you put all of your data, and now all of the data is available in one place. Once the data is available into UNS, right, so you can generate a lot of data-driven insights on top of it. And once those insights are generated, then you can optimize your IT processes or the OT process. And that feedbacks back to the single cohesive layer. And then again, it will drive the insights and then it will try to optimize. So the challenge with the current market approach, like how it was implemented, was missing this sort of unique layer, data layer, because it's not just about connecting the system. It's all about the data that is actually moving. What you're trying to get is basically the visibility across all of your manufacturing workflow, right? And that's data, right? So HiveX UNS, the platform, the data platform that we have built, provide a cohesive like sort of Google Drive for all of your data needs across all of your system. It's contextualized in ISA 95 format, so it's very easy to understand both for your IT and OT teams. And once that data is in there, you can generate a lot of insights. And we're gonna go into the demo like how you will see the actual benefit, right? Once we pull the data into the HiveX sort of UNS layer, right? And what kind of use cases that actually generates. and what kind of insights that it actually give it for like where you need to focus on, whether it's OT or IT needs. What we have seen is like you're gonna save millions in just by in future, right? In just the IT OT integration. So once you integrate all of your system to this layer in a standard structure, and this is by the way like standard across the industry, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. This is how it will be done. So one of the key thing was missing is the standard for the integration. So HiveX UNS, or what I called is a unified namespace, is a standard of integration, right? Which standardize how the data need to be shared across all of these teams. So if you heard about API, think of it as a sort of API also. Or if Google Drive makes sense for you, I think that's a more common representation. What I can see is like very easy to put in. Think of as a Google Drive where you can, all of your plants data across the enterprise are like putting in there, and then you can pick up any of the data and then you can understand what's happening. Really powerful because all of the data is in one place. You can see and generate insights in real time. So what you're seeing is like it's going to save tons of efforts in your IT and OT. We have seen 15 to 25%, like if you just on the labor and energy cost, and tons of boost in your production output, right? And it's going to reduce like development cycle and operational risk, right? So in the next video, I'm going to walk you through the actual product demo, like which I prepared, and how having this layer basically help you accelerate towards industry 4.0. Why, once you implement right, the amount of time that you waste in doing both these approaches like does not make sense, right? UNS is a very powerful concept for any kind of digital transformation. If you go without this, most likely it's gonna fail, or it's gonna cost too much money, or you're gonna just do like one or two use case, but you're not gonna reach to the actual promises of industry 4.0. So with that, so I will will show you the actual product demo, like what we have built. With that, thank you.